Hello, it's Melissa here and I'm live, and today I'm going to share with you a layout that I'm making, and it's inspired by the wonderful Sue's Fish on YouTube. And Sue's has a really awesome style, and what I love about her, aside from her gorgeous personality, is that she is a thrifty scrapbooker, and so she makes layouts with found items and just bits and pieces, and she isn't completely sold out to having to purchase the latest and greatest, and I think that's something that can be admired. And so today I want to make a layout that is really inspired by her. So here's the photo I'm going to be scrapbooking, and it's Azaria and Brielle, and it's when Brielle was still quite little, even though she is very chubby. She was still very little in this photo. So I'm just going to show you what I'm going to be using. I've got some tissue paper here, and I keep things like this, which is ribbon. These buttons, my entire button collection, probably 95% of it is buttons that I've found or been given. I very rarely buy a packet of buttons. So here I've got some flowers that my daughter really wanted me to use. I've got a doily that I've been given, and I've used part of it already. A glassine bag, some little squares of Japanese paper that a friend of mine gave me. I bought a planner, and I ripped out this little branding strip with the price on it, so I want to get that in because I love that notebook edge. I've got a tag here just from the stationery shop. I've got this leaf which I die cut. I used the leaf on another layout, so I've got the little leftover piece. Yes, this is scrapbook paper, however. This was used by my daughter. She drew a little menu and got me to write what was on there, and I wrote our shopping list on there, so I figure I can include this in the layout. This, I don't know where it came from. I don't ever recall buying it, so I'm going to use that. This here is when I had a bit of trouble with my printer. We did a test on it, and that's just the colours that the computer prints out. And here, very much in the style of Sue's Fish, I have prepared this, and I love how she has extra details on the edges. So I've added a bit of that flower doily tissue paper. I've sewn and distressed my edges, and I've done my ink splattering beforehand, which is something she does, and I've gone and put my big finger right on it. But anyway, it's not worth being worried about. I'm just going to make it work and see what happens. So I'm going to, before I carry on, I do have some things that I'm going to let myself have that are scrapbooking product. I've got a couple of Project Life cards, 1, 2, from a really old paper bakery kit, and I've got these words that Kaiser Craft, and I'm just wanting to use them up, so I'm allowing myself to have those, and yeah, we'll see how I go. I may have to pull in some embellishments, but I will see how I go, and I'm going to turn you off now, and I'll be back soon. Well, I'm back and I'm ready to get into it. So I kind of had an idea about what I was going to do with this layout, and I wanted to make those 2 pieces of paper sort of the background layers and work from there. So I'm just distressing my edges, and you'll see soon that I just love both of those papers so much, and I want to use a little bit more of them, so I'm going to gut them. And this is a technique that I first saw Shamel do, and I remember there was a lot of discussion if you were ever on 2P's forums, where people used to talk about how can people waste so much paper, and you know, but it's each to their own, and sometimes when it's the only paper you've got, I think it's a great idea. And in fact, I often do this on my background papers. So here's the tissue paper, and I want it to be really uneven, and that'll go with the distressed edges and also my ink splatters. And at this point I pull in some white cardstock because I guess I'm questioning what happens to the photo in the years to come, because tissue paper is not acid free. So this is the way that I always deal with incorporating non-scrapbooking product into my pages. I'll add a mat of paper that I know, or cardstock in this case, I know that it is acid free. I know not everybody does that, but it's just the way my mind works, so I actually like it as a border on my photo as well. So here I go cutting out those pieces. And you'll see how I deal with that coral coloured paper. I'm just going to use my trimmer to gut the inside out. There. So at this point I'm not sure how I'm going to cover up that finger ruined splatter, but like I said before, it's no big deal, and I know that in some way I'll be able to work it in. So with this layout, I am wanting to incorporate some of the techniques that Susie does too, which is layering and tucking bits and pieces in, and I know she often uses her stapler for her layers, and that's actually something I should do more, instead of loading it up with double-sided tape. So here I'm just trimming the edge roughly because I want to have a bit more of that coral paper showing. And it's got a tiny little star on it, which I love. I had some problems with this negative of my die cut. Now, it looks good there, and I wish I'd kept it, but hindsight is a great thing. And I think when we watch ourselves create, it always looks different to how it is when we are in the process of creating. So now I'm working out where I want my doily, and then I'll be playing around with that notebook edge. These doilies have tiny little bits where it's like they haven't cut properly on the edges, so always cut those bits off. Still playing around with that negative die cut, and you'll see in the end that I just can't make it work. So here I'm committing to that doily, and I like it there in between the two layers. Putting extra double-sided tape on my photo because it is going on that tissue paper, which is pretty fragile and may not hold that great. Flowers are something I really struggle with. I don't know about the rest of you, but I see absolutely beautiful layouts made with flowers. The only flowers I can make work easily are die-cut flowers or floral paper, but I really struggle with fake flowers, I guess. It's quite interesting watching my own process, and I think I've said it before, but I really do jump around a lot. So I may think I'm going to work with the flowers, then I go to that colourful piece of paper from the printer, and now I'm slipping in that Japanese paper. So I don't think when we create, we don't really analyse what we're doing, we just create. So it is interesting to see how my own brain works in my process. So back to the flowers. The easiest way for me to deal with flowers is to tuck them in and have them peeking out, and to not go overboard with them. So with that paper there, because it's quite full on, I've cut it down, and then I'm just ruffling it with the double-sided tape, and I'll be tucking it into my layers. And that ruffling, I like the way it's imperfect and it goes with my distressed look, and it also provides some dimension to what are essentially a lot of flat layers. At first I thought that I would use that Live for the Moment sticker as my title, so at this point in the process that's what I'm thinking. Just distressing the edge of that notebook punch, it's not a punch, is it? It's actually a really notebook edge, to make it look authentic. And at this point I've realised that I can use that to cover up that ink. I was hoping to staple it on, but my stapler's not, it won't reach. So keeping it in position, lining up my top layers. And I do want to have a little bit of that ink peeking through, but not that big line of it. So here I've realised that live for the moment sticker's in the wrong place, so I've moved that away. And here you'll see my technique for when I really don't want to lift it up. When I've got things perfect or how I want them, and there's no way I want to lift them up, I just lift and tuck my tape underneath, peel it off and stick it down. Okay, so I've placed that live for the moment back up there. And I know that it has to stay there because even if I wanted to move it, it would probably rip the paper. So this photo is of my two girls, and I think I've already said, haven't I? But anyway, my daughter, when she'd get home from school, she'd love to have a cuddle of Brielle. So that's just a quick photo that I took. And I really, to be honest, I took that photo because Brielle's little cute little fluffy pants were new, and I wanted a memory of them because she was growing so fast at that point that new clothes would probably only last a couple of weeks and then they'd have to be put away. So according to the clothes really, but it is cute how they have little cuddles. So now you'll see why I needed the extra paper. So just with some interest, I'm ripping the paper, and if you rip it a certain way you can get that white core to show. And so I'm just layering those pieces over a doily, half a doily, quarter of a doily even. And I think that just adds some nice interest. I did think about stapling them on, but I actually like how they look, just like that. I'm just trimming off the excess there. Tearing paper is something that I always think about doing and then I never do it, so I should really make an effort to do it. Now I'm adding some more of these words, and I shared in my last video that I find word stickers hard to use, and actually not doing too bad with that sheet there because I'm probably halfway through them. So added the words everyday happiness, which will end up being the title to this. Now I'm showing you my button collection, and as I said earlier, all my buttons pretty much are just collected. Now that doesn't mean that I go around digging in rubbish bins or I don't know, stealing them off people's clothes or anything like that. What I mean by found, I'll get them when clothes come and they have extra buttons, or they fall off in the washing machine. I just collect them. So I've been collecting them for years, I think before I was even a scrapbooker. So I'm really using these like enamel dots. And I know some people have an issue with not sewing buttons down, but I don't have an issue with that. I think they look perfectly fine, and I actually like seeing the little holes on the buttons anyway. So I'm nearly done, and now I'm writing my journaling, which is, it just says, every day Azaria can't wait to get home from school and give Brielle a cuddle. She loves to hold her. I'll be adding the date to my layout later on. I'm a bit lazy and I don't always have the dates of my photos ready, so when you see my layouts without dates, they do get added later. Now what I've done there is a technique that I learnt from Chamel, and if you get the dot runner you can just put a little bit of the dots on the string because I want it to look curved like that permanently. So there's the final layout. Thank you to Sue's Fish for the inspiration, and welcome to my new subscribers, and I'll be back again soon. Thank you.